Hello, everybody. It's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro, and we are back again for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. This will be coming to you on the 2nd of February. So, we're in a new month. This is the second month into the year. Hopefully, everybody's doing good on their plans, on the goals that they've set out for themselves. We're going to be revisiting some of our previous topics because it's very important to check back in on the planning and are we sticking to the plan. So, for me personally, I will be knee deep in my end of month financials when this releases to see how I did the first year of 2020 or the first month of 2023. So, we're revisiting some hidden gems of finance, your personal finance, because this one is geared towards personal finance. So, the first gem that we are going to touch on is your financial mindset, what your relationship is to money. If you have a negative, toxic, or non conducive or productive relationship with how you view money, how money is utilized, how money affects you, then that's going to be the first thing that you're going to have to fix. You're going to have to jump into that. Like if you grew up in a household where all rich people or crooks are evil and you're trying to get rich, it's never going to happen because your mindset at your core, you believe these people are evil. So like, why would you choose to become evil? It doesn't work that way. So if that's one of the thought processes you have, then you are going to have to clean that up before you can proceed on your journey, or you're going to have like a soft cap somewhere in this mission where you're like, I don't want more money than this because that's where the evil people are. You'll make up some arbitrary number in your head where you're going to have to stop off, otherwise you'll become evil. So that's the first one. It's kind of quick. I mean, obviously, the way that you look at money, um, we can jump into the money isn't everything. Like, sure, it's not, but everything is purchased with money. You're 100% right. Money is not everything. It's not even close to everything, but everything is purchased with money. Your livelihood, purchased with money. Your health, purchased with money. The safety of the neighborhood you live in, purchased with money. The car you drive, purchased with money. I mean, realistically, in the world that we currently live in, there's nothing that's not purchased with money. So, while it's not everything, it does buy everything. And as a tool, 100% use it for what it's supposed to be used for. Purchasing those quality of life upgrades. Being able to sit in some spaces that, you don't have to worry about things. So, the way that we view money, for number one, our mindset, that's gonna be the first and foremost, because if that's not in place, then none of the rest of this stuff even really matters, because the rest of it's just tactic. And some of these are tactics, actually all of these are tactics that I have implemented. I can actually say that I am following the plan this year. So the next thing that we have is and this is specific, this is going to be based on income bracket, but like if you are in and you'd have to do your research, but if you are in the lowest tax bracket, meaning that you're starting off, and I think it's in the 80s or something like that now, where you're still in that lowest tax bracket, prioritizing your Roth 401k that you personally hold. And if you do not know what a Roth is, you need to educate yourself. And if you do not have one set up, I highly recommend you set one up over your IRA. The reason being, all jobs, pretty much, if you have a job that has any type of decent benefits, they are going to push you into a IRA. actually, they're going to get you in a 401k through the company, but it's the pre-tax 401k. And they're going to they all push that. And normally there's some sort of incentive where there's free money. If it's a good company, there's some sort of price match. And you should invest definitely to get those free dollars. So, not going to say that you shouldn't do that. But beyond that, the main purpose of those pre-tax accounts is to lower your tax bracket. If you are in the lowest tax bracket, you can't lower it anymore, which means that it's of no benefit for what they're going to advertise it for. Until you get to that next tax bracket up and you can lower it back down to the lowest tax bracket, like, it doesn't do anything for you. Except for set you up so that when you retire, you get to pay as much taxes as you're ever going to have to pay on the money that you could have had then. And the reason I like the Roth 401k accounts, the ones that are yours and you pay after tax dollars, is the Roths, you don't pay taxes when you cash those out. Now, they do have set limits, but before I would go, for me personally, what I'm trying to do is, obviously, you keep your price match, you get your free money, but I'm trying to max out that Roth account first before I put any other funds into that work account, because you should be trying to build up to where you're paying the least amount of taxes upon retirement, not the most amount of taxes upon retirement. And a lot of people start off, especially early on, in my opinion, knowing what I know now, putting money in the wrong account and just like setting yourself up over the long haul. You're just like, the bulk of the money that you're saving is going to get taxed at the highest rate. So that's the second hack that I have started implementing this year, which is another interesting one. So this third one, and we've talked about this, is we're no longer saving in cash. You can save it in anything tied to the market, in any market. It's just cash right now. When you're in high volatility, where we don't necessarily know where the dollar's going, what it's doing in the current market, I have shifted over. My savings account right now is a bond ETF. It's very little volatility. It kicks off some money. The interest rates are up right now because interest rates are up right now. That's where I'm keeping my money that I'm saving to deploy. Along with that, it's having a set metric of, okay, we're saving this much, and having a demarcation point where it's like, once this account hits X amount of dollars, for instance, arbitrary number, but it could be a number for anyone. It's like the amount that you're saving up before you make that next investment. So personally, I'm saving up for another property. So I'm starting to look to make some moves at a $10,000 price point. So once it hits about $10,000, I'm looking at the other investments that I've got in play that I'm going to be pulling on, but I wanted to have 10,000 of my own dollars in cash up front before I started touching any of my other investments that are currently working. At that point, we're going to start looking for stuff, and like, I'm building up to that point every paycheck, every day, every opportunity. So with that said, like, I feel much better about the benefits of that style of saving versus just holding it in cash, where I'm getting no benefits whatsoever. I mean, obviously, right now you're getting 4% in the bank, maybe, if you have a good bank. But me personally, I would rather have it tied to market so that I can get some of that volatility. Bonds are very boring, but they do pay off a dividend. So while I'm holding these deals, I'm going to catch a couple of dividend payments. Currently on that bond position, I am up a little bit on it. So I did a buy-in today. Well, let's take a look at it. So yeah, since I've started, and this is dollar cost averaged, obviously it's getting money put in it anytime I get paid. Um, any bulk amounts of money, and I've got a 1% gain on it, so I'm up 38 bucks basically. So over the course of saving this, I've added in an additional $38 in value from the growth of that that position while I'm saving, which is cool. It's not a lot of volatility. It's pretty boring, but there's money going there, and like I know that the money's going there, and I can see it growing, which is cool. And I like to at least think that in this scenario, I am not going negative in money as far as what that money's worth. So that's another really useful one. Um, so second to last one. Oh, these last two are tough. Which order do I want to do them in? I'm gonna say, because I'm doing both of these. So we're gonna start off with the one that most people don't know. When it comes to your health insurance, you can actually, if you're in the any of the insurance plans, and like most people don't sign up for this because they don't want to pay for stuff out of pocket because they don't have the money set aside to pay for stuff out of pocket. Me personally, I do normally go with the high deductible plans, and that gives you access to a health savings account. So what I did this year, planning for next year, because next year I will be in a position to where I'm going to need to clip a little bit more money to lower my tax bracket. so, um, so next year, preparing for next year, I started an HSA this year. So me personally, I don't go to the doctor that much. I'm normally not that injured. I'm not injury prone. I get sick about once a year, which I am currently just getting over. So if I sound a little bit funny in this video, I was sick Monday. So and this is the residuals. Um, and yeah, I had one day off work, and then I went back to work, and we keep it pushing. But what I did was, because so I'm not looking at touching that money, most likely. So what I'm doing is I'm building up for next year. And so in my personal situation, there's a threshold on when I can actually invest. And so what they'll let you do is they'll let you put this money basically tied to the S&P, so you get the additional growth, and then these are also pre-tax dollars, so it does lower your taxable income. And you can have some pretty nice growth and gains off of this account, provided you're not touching it. And so the way that this works is you build the account up, and then you actually only spend the dividends or what you're making off the growth to pay for your medical bills. And then eventually, if you do this long enough, the account it basically self-funds itself. Like, you put your bid in, but when you're cashing it out and getting your reimbursements, you're getting reimbursements on either growth or dividend income within that account. And it kind of functions like your 401k that your work gives you. So it's kind of like a little double dip there, except for this one's specifically tied to medical expenses. And you can grow these up pretty big to where you don't, if you have like a large expense that has to come out of this, then, you've got the money in there for it. So tactically looking forward, I'm like, okay, well, like if I'm using this and the 401k to lower my taxable income, then, why not? Because as far as the medical side of things, like if I'm not that sick, but I have it in there, that way if anything happens, I get married, like I've got this, this account stuff's covered. Like, you have kids, stuff's covered. Versus the other end of it, which is you're not paying for it. You're using the PPO plans where, you know, stuff's kind of paid for. You pay less out of pocket, and like I'd rather hit that deductible and just have it all paid for up front, and then you just save up the deductible and have the deductible sitting in an account that's cash. That way, if you ever need it, it's there. And then you get to build this alternative investment that that can also carry its own weight after a while, and lower your taxable income. So that was one of the big shifts for me, and it's kind of been hard because I don't like having extra money taken out of my check because I'd rather have it to invest myself. But this is a play for next year, and it's a delayed gratification thing. Fortunately, I haven't noticed the hit so much on my checks so that's good, but like it's still hard because like I noticed it enough to be like, "Oh, that's where that money's going," and like I don't get to touch it and I don't see it. And unlike my 401k, like it's not currently growing, it's going to be sitting there in a cash pool, and then next year I will hit the threshold to where I can take it in and, you know, make a little bit more out of it. But up until then, this is the pre-planning phase, setting the groundwork. So I'm excited about it, but we're gonna have to keep tabs on it because like right now it's money that's not doing anything, which makes me cringe. But it's not that much. So um, so the last one, number 5, financial gems, and this one's relevant because everybody is currently doing their taxes or getting ready to do their taxes. My last financial gem is not tricking off your tax return. That's a huge back fumble that people have every year. And so what I've done this year specifically is I'm allotting myself X amount, and like I'll normally do it for, little jump starter for the summer wardrobe or whatever. A little bit of money off for that. But I this year I'd say over 70%. 70% or more is going towards me getting my next property. Like I'm saving all of it basically. And then I got the 30%. I'm getting one of my last health device that I've got to replace, and a little bit. They'll leave me a little bit to go get some starter stuff for this summer's wardrobe, like to get some refresher, some shirts in, some little stuff like that. But like my focus is, since I have a plan and I know what these numbers are to like hyperdrive that plan, it's really focused around me being able to dial in on those goals and like getting that lump sum of money this year. Because if you're in a low tax bracket, you should be getting something back. Like that would also be super depressing to be in low tax bracket plus you get nothing back. Like I always set my taxes up to where I'm getting a little bit of a kickback. It's kind of like a forced savings plan for me. I set it up to where they take too much, and I know that they're taking too much, and then at the end of the year, I'm getting something back. And so having that lump sum of money come in, the it's a double-edged sword, because then you get a lump sum of money, but a lot of people look at that, and when they get that tax return, they're like, "Oh, we're going on a trip. Oh, we're using this to do this." And for me, it took a while for me to shift that mindset into, oh, I need to be able to make this money make some money, or double this money before I can give it to myself to cash it out. And it wasn't really until I got into crypto that I started looking at it that way. But like rolling into this year, because I got some pretty lofty goals for this year, I was like, well, most of that money needs to go into this pool of money to be able to accomplish these goals. And so this year I was like, okay, I'm gonna just hash this out. Like, I'm gonna take a little bit of this for this, and then like a very little bit of this for updates to the wardrobe, and we're gonna keep it pushing, and we're gonna make sure that we're trying to hit these goals. And so far, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I don't the hmm, the hashing up of my tax returns has gotten so much easier since I've already been doing this for other purposes that are investment related for going on 10 years now, that doing this in order to go into a different investment apparatus really didn't affect me the way that it would for most people. But what I will say is, every year prior to me starting to look at my tax return this way, I see a bunch of lost opportunity and a bunch of wasted money, because there's nothing that I've done with the tax return, period. When I've gone and tricked that off and been like, "Oh, I'm going to go on a trip." It was never a trip that I was like, "Oh yeah, that was definitely a worthwhile experience that mattered." Never was. It was just me blowing money. And looking back, it's like, okay, so I got that one little trip, and I got nothing really to show for it. Got some pictures on Instagram. Like, I got to post on Facebook that I was somewhere. Got to tweet about it and felt cool for a day. And then what? Like, that money is gone. It's gone out of my ecosystem for forever. Um so now, for the past 10 years, the majority of my tax return, like, this is probably the highest, but like every other year it's at least 50%, if not more. And in all honesty, I think when I first got into the cryptocurrency space, it was almost 100%. So like, it fluctuates every year. But I normally try to keep at least half of my tax return that goes into like my piggy bank to grow some more piggies to build the bank out. Um, and it's been like a really big turning point in how I view a lot of my finances, which is, it's got to be building the bank. It's got to be building something for me, something that's going to help me be established. Like, the little insignificant trips that they tell us we all need to go on because everyone else on Instagram's going on them, they don't matter if you're actually broke in real life. None of that stuff matters. What matters is your finances in order? Can you actually afford the trip? Because like, if you can't actually afford the trip, then like, you shouldn't go. And if the only time that you get the trip is when the tax return comes in, then there's some other issues at play there that probably need to be sussed out. Because if the only time you can do anything is if you got this extra lump sum of money because the government took too much money from you, and then they have to give you some of it back, but you're so hand to mouth that like, now that's the trip money, and like, that's the only time you can plan out a trip, like, that's not good. Like, you should budget for the trip, and then have, if you're going to go on the trip, then you should be able to do that regardless of the tax return money. But reinvesting that tax return money for me has been huge, because it can be a boost to your investment. Like, that can be a boost to your portfolio. That can actually be a decent start to your portfolio in some cases. For those of you who are having issues setting aside money to do that, like, stop going on the trip or buying rims or going and getting new Jordans with the tax return money. Actually start your portfolio. And I mean, you would be better off doing that and having that be your portfolio influx of money, and then you can scrounge around the rest of the year trying to piece together in between. But like, if you're investing those chunks, like, eventually you're gonna have a little bit of cash put together. And so that's my fifth one and final gem for finance. Those are my financial hidden gems. Those are some of the things that I'm looking at, some of the stuff that we've got going for this year. I hope everybody is rolling into February healthy, both in mind, spirit, body, and finance. Um, and tonight we will be on I Seen Your Little Podcast for the live stream. And so I'll be catching you guys there. Might be a little bit under the weather, but like I think we're going to be doing a little bit of a conversation on some futuristic stuff. We're going to be talking about Web3. We're obviously going to be getting to the bag. We're going to be looking at where people are planning, where things are going potentially in the future, some use cases, which obviously might lead over into some crypto discussions. We should have some pretty interesting discussions because some people wanted me to hash out a little segment on that to have the conversation. And you know me, you ask, I deliver. I'm always ready to have the conversation. So hopefully we will see you tonight on I Seen Your Little Podcast channel for the Guns and Butter Show, featuring your host, Reckless Ray Dinero. And I'm going to be signing out. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day, and you're not fumbling the bag, because we're about to roll into Bag Fumble Friday, and I'm here to tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. Until next week, everybody, it's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and I'm out.